Welcome to FiST Chat, your source for news and discussions in film science and technology, hosted by Steve Kern and Ben Warner. Visit our website at fistchat.com. Hello everyone and welcome to FiST Chat, your podcast that features discussions on the topics of film science and technology. My name's Ben Warner and I'm joined once again in the flesh with my good friend and colleague Steve Kern. It's good to have you again here, Steve. How are you?
Well, thanks, Ben. Hello, FiST Chat fans. It's a pleasure to be here in Melbourne.
Oh, it's always good, and we're going to do a couple of episodes today. Might as well work you as hard as we can while you're here.
That's right, and of course we'll be talking about a whole range of exciting topics.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it now, and we're going to talk about Wikipedia today, which I don't think we've discussed before in any great detail. No. It's more the idea is it really a reliable source of information? Is it the equivalent of an encyclopedia? Or has it taken the place of the traditional encyclopedia? And given that there's a lot of user-generated content, and I guess there are people sort of monitoring it and editing it and all that sort of thing, but still, at the end of the day, it's not 100% accurate.
Rubbish in, rubbish out. Yeah. So I think, and that's not a reflection on Wikipedia. Obviously, some parts of it are very, very good, but it's only what people put in. So if they haven't put things in, then bits of it will be missing. Yeah. Our knowledge base will be lacking. So it's probably a bit more modern, probably a bit more up to date than a set of encyclopedias, but not maybe a full replacement.
No. Well, one of the things I had heard was that Wikipedia tends to be very text skewed. So if you go on, for example, and want to know the history of the iPhone, you'll probably get a step-by-step, date-by-date breakdown of the entire thing. But if you go and look up something a bit more obscure, you'll probably find only 2 lines on it.
That's right.
Yeah, so you get that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, though, it is a reasonable resource if you want to find some general information as well. I mean, the fact that if it wasn't there, it would be, be a bit harder to sort of find all that information yourself.
Well, it's probably one of the most powerful tools on the internet, even as a search engine itself, in terms of giving reasonably reliable information. It certainly has that on there. So I guess the question is, though, unfortunately, because it is crowdsourced information, while some of it's very good, and as you say, if a tech head gets down and writes on a specific topic, it's probably going to be quite good, but there's probably a lot of knowledge, probably in terms of historical terms and that sort of thing, which may just not be there because people comfortable with computers or using Wikipedia. And despite the fact they say it's easy, it does take a little bit of, use to get good at, posting on Wikipedia. So it's certainly a very good service, but it does have its drawbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. There was just to sort of put a spin on this for the time being, just so you can get an example, there was a story in The Guardian, Stop Female Scientists Being Written Out of Wikipedia History. And essentially what was happening here, the Royal Society was urging people to help shine a light on the achievements of women in science, to perform a mass editing job on Wikipedia. And there was Professor Dame Julia Singo, Chief Scientist at the Met Office, and she was an expert on this and has been barely out of the profession since Britain was taken by storm. But if you look at her on Wikipedia, just 5 short paragraphs pop up. And she was saying many female scientists are either not there at all on Wikipedia or they just have stubs, which is probably an excellent example of what we're talking about here, and that's where it's not comprehensive. And you would think people like this probably should have a bit more written about them.
Well, this is the issue. I mean, I think typically, unfortunately, too, women have been written out of science in history in general, and this is just an extension of it. But I would hope that there would be some people out there, quite possibly even women, who would rewrite those or, create those, Wikipedia entries that reflect that. I mean, one thing I would ask, Ben, is by etsicot, you're not really meant to write your own Wikipedia page.
That's right.
So who then is it left up to? And I think that, as we were saying, over history, men have certainly dominated history and written history. is this a time now where possibly the women have to take control of this, and maybe even some individuals write their own posts? Is it that bad? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's that idea of independently verifying the information as it's coming in. Is it accurate? Who's doing it? And obviously there's a team of people editing.
Well, those checks and balances still would exist. So, if I wrote my own Wikipedia entry about myself and said I was fantastic at a whole range of stuff, then you'd probably come along and just adjust it so it was a bit more even.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's the reason why you get those donation messages that pop up every now and then. They need some assistance in getting their job done. Yeah, it is interesting. I think, maybe as a starting point, it's I know from my personal use of Wikipedia that it's more like a starting point if you want to find something, and then if you want to drill down and find more information, then maybe there's something in the Wikipedia page you're looking at that you can then start Googling or whatever and seeing if you can find it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think generally for general information, but particularly statistical data, it's very, very good. So where there's been, perhaps a world authority that has done some research into anything, whether it's, wildlife populations or whether it's just, the average age or longevity or something like that, you can get those stats and that they're accurate and they're referenced and you can go back and check it. So it's a fantastic service. But, as a community of users, the information in there is only going to be as good as the information we put in. And if we neglect some areas, then that's to our detriment. So everyone get on and start posting more about these women or these great female scientists.
Absolutely. All right, we might move on from Wikipedia and we'll go into our news bites now. Now, the film one for this week, film crew hit by train. This was in The Age. A movie crew was working on train tracks, allegedly without permission from the railway, when a freight train crashed into the production team and its equipment, killing one and injuring 7 others. The Savannah-based crew was shooting footage for Midnight Rider, a film based on the life of singer Greg Allman. The train struck and killed a woman identified by the Sheriff's Department as 27-year-old Sarah Elizabeth Jones. Injuries of one of the others hurt was serious enough for the person to be flown by helicopter to hospital. The deadly collision took place at a railway trestle that crosses the Altamar River. I'm sure we can look it up, in the rural county nearly 100 kilometres southwest of Savannah. This is just another, sort of indication that you have to get, all your permissions in order before you go filming. And if you don't, you better be damn careful where you're going.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, and I don't know, it doesn't really say if they were, guerrilla filmmakers or low budget, which you would think they were because Hollywood would have closed the railway for as long as they needed. Right? So, it's a tragic accident, and it's a very, as you say, timely. That if you are going to do some filming anywhere that's dangerous, you have to take precautions.
Sounds like they might have had a bit of equipment with them as well. So that would even, I mean, it's not like how, like in the good old days when we were making our films, we'd pretty much just show up, especially in the early days with just a camera, a tripod and a couple of actors. And, if you see a freight train coming, you can pretty much jump out of the way.
That's right, yeah. It certainly sounds like they were quite a serious production and just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And it's probably just worth noting too the amount of work that goes into pre-production on a film. And this is often a quite overlooked area. And it's not really a sexy area of filmmaking, of getting all of your locations sorted, all of the permissions sorted, make sure all of your insurances are in place because, anything could go wrong at any time. And as we both know, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong on a film set.
Well, that's right. And I think typically freight trains aren't always scheduled. Yep. So they might have had information that suggested the tracks would be free for a couple of hours and, freight train comes along. Very sad, but yes.
Absolutely. All right, we'll move on to our science news bite from the ABC. Volcanoes partly explain warming hiatus. Small volcanic eruptions help explain a hiatus in global warming this century by dimming sunlight and offsetting a rise in emissions of heat-trapping gases to record highs, a new study has shown. Eruptions of at least 17 volcanoes since 2000 including Nabro in Eritrea, Kasotoki in Alaska, and Merapi in Indonesia. I'm doing it right
well
there.
done, Ben.
Ejected sulfur when sun blocking effect had been largely ignored until now by climate scientists, it says. The pace of rising world surface temperatures has slowed since an exceptionally warm 1998, heartening those who doubt that an urgent $1 trillion shift to renewable energies from fossil fuels is needed to counter global warming. Interesting story there. There are big processes, natural processes that occur on the planet that affect, our environment and that sort of thing. Volcanoes typically spew out quite a bit of greenhouse gases, wouldn't they, from carbon dioxide and things like that. Although I think going back to what we've been covering in the past is that we're maybe still as humans contributing just enough to tip it a little bit over that tipping point.
Oh, I think we're probably doing more than just a little bit, but
because at the end of the day, volcanoes have been here forever. So,
they have
in effect. So.
Volcanoes were here before we have the atmosphere that we live in today. So that they are an integral part of climate and climate change. And I think that this is just another example of how difficult it is to explain climate change and why people don't want to believe that humans are contributing to it, because it is very complicated. And the models that a lot of the climate scientists use, obviously didn't include this data, and then people say, oh, it's all wrong, or you're not right, or this is the real cause. And this is what causes the endless confusion. That aside, there's no question that we're pumping a lot of carbon dioxide and a lot of pollutants into the atmosphere. And it just comes back to the same old thing that, if you have a bowl of water and you put food colouring in it, it changes that environment visually. It's just because we can't see what we're putting into the air doesn't mean it's not having an effect. And that's the short of it. If you want to disagree with that, go ahead.
Volcanoes aside and whatnot.
Volcanoes are part of that, but we contribute along with volcanoes, and the thing is, we're contributing a lot of atmospheric additives.
And it all adds up.
And it all adds up, exactly. It all adds up. So maybe we'll leave it at that.
Absolutely. All right, and finally, our tech news bite. Bitcoin ATMs coming to the US from CNN. Bitcoin, the emerging, if still somewhat mysterious digital currency, may be coming soon to a high-tech ATM near you. Kiosks that allow people to buy the virtual coins or exchange them for cash will be installed within the next month or so in Seattle and Austin, Texas. They'll be the first such ATMs in the US. RoboCoin has installed machines in Vancouver, with more in Canada, Hong Kong, Europe, and Asia in the works. The emergence of public ATMs, the company says, is a step towards making Bitcoin a currency that's not backed by any government or bank and has no physical assets to prop up its value, a more comfortable buy for mainstream users outside the web-centric circles where it currently thrives.
Oh, man.
Where do we begin with that?
Well, 12 weeks ago, I would have said that Bitcoin was here to stay. So did a whole lot of people with investment, in Bitcoin, including the Winklevoss twins of Facebook fame. They put a lot of time, effort, and money into Bitcoin. And now we learn just probably a day or two ago that the largest Bitcoin exchange, Mt. Gox, has just disappeared with 6% of the world's Bitcoin. It ain't looking good. But Bitcoin aside, I think what we're actually seeing here is that people realise they can make money from virtual currency. There will be a virtual currency. But what we're also seeing here is that if the virtual currency disappears, there's no one to complain to.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, the funny thing
is... It's imaginary money. But
they're talking about, this is a virtual currency. And even though, for example, traditional currency, we still have cash and whatnot, but actually the vast amount of transactions are in effect virtual these days anyway.
That's right.
Whether Bitcoin adds anything to it and whether they're able to sort of secure it a bit better than what that particular problem caused.
Well, I think the interesting thing about Bitcoin is that it's created by an algorithm, so you can't just make it. It's got to be mined, so it's got to be created by groups of computers around the world to create these Bitcoins. And that's what gives it value, because there's only a limited number. There's only so many there can be at a time. And then the transactions are instant. So what is interesting, though, is that there's nothing really underpinning Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So you're trading in something that doesn't have a government-backed, currency value. So that's where it gets interesting. So when somewhere like the biggest exchange goes missing, which incidentally was hacked a couple of times, so we don't know anything really of what the true story is going on. But with Bitcoin around $1,000 a coin at the end of last year, you would suggest that
that's a lot of money if the 6% of the entire sort of collection just vanished.
Well, that's right. I think it's 750 million or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of money.
It's a fair chunk
Where did
of
it
change.
vanish to? I mean, if that turns up in someone else's Bitcoin wallet and people still want to trade in Bitcoin,
Good luck to them.
good luck to them, yeah. So anyway,
All
that's we'll see what happens next with this.
Absolutely. All right, we might wrap it up there for this episode. So thanks again, Steve, for the chat and for being here.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, FiST Chat fans. We'll catch you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Just don't forget our website, FiSTChat.com. You can get all of our links there. We've got our ebook, The FiST Report, at fishreport.com. We've got the 2012 and 2013 versions there for you to peruse and read. And every copy bought helps to support the show, which we'd much appreciate. We've got our weekly blogs on photography on Instagram and Flickr. And if you think anyone's interested in our weekly discussions on film science and technology, then feel free to send them to our website. We'd appreciate that too. So that's it for this episode. So we'll catch you next time.